Hello, Facebook Live. I am Dan Rochon with Get Rock Solid Coaching, and today I'm joined with Mr. Justin Nelson.
Howdy.
Hello. And Justin, you're with Social REA, is that correct?
That is correct. Just one of many hats.
Like many of us in this industry, so you got one or two hats that you wear, right?
Yes, absolutely. Definitely more than one at any given time. So.
Good, man. Understood. So welcome, and I'm glad to have you here, Justin. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? You're just sharing with me that you're in Colorado, recently moved from one place to another. So tell us where you are, and then I want to hear a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm currently in northern Colorado, so a little town called Berthoud, Colorado. Obviously, I've been doing real estate here for about 6 years now, but just moved my real estate business actually to downtown Denver. So we'll kind of get a little bit into my story, I'm sure, throughout this interview. But, there's a few changes that had to be made to get me, because of my other hats and some of my other businesses that I'm sure we'll dive into. So I still live in northern Colorado. However, do most of my business in downtown Denver now.
Oh, that's cool. So tell us about your journey. When did you get in real estate?
Yeah. Absolutely. So I got into real estate in 2012. So for most of you, you might be watching this going, wow, he looks like he's 16, 14, 20, 30, can't really tell. I'm currently only 22 years old.
Wait, Justin. They're saying the same thing about me right now.
Oh, I wouldn't guess a day over 24.
Thank you. All right. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Very welcome. So in 2012, my dad got into the business. So I lived most of my life out in Texas. My dad worked for IBM for about 20 plus years. He was in charge of outsourcing. He actually ran an education department. He basically knew ahead of time that he was going to lay himself off because they were moving all the jobs to India. So he moved back not knowing any clue what he was going to do moving back to northern Colorado. 2012, one of his really good high school friends said, "You're getting into real estate." Well, in 2012, I was, 16 years old. So again, only 22 now. So I say I've been in the industry about 7 years because, I was a really inquisitive kid. I was really nosy. I was very entrepreneurial. I sold women's jeans actually as a kid. Some months made several $1,000s selling women's jeans. And so I always had that entrepreneurial type background. And so when he got in the business in 2012, he kind of said it without saying it that, hey, if you want kind of a side job, you want us to succeed as a family, why not help out in this business? So I kind of got started, doing all the random things, right, that agents don't want to do, marketing, Facebook postings. Back in the day, Craigslist ads were a huge thing. I always make the joke, I got in trouble a lot in high school for posting too many Craigslist ads on the servers of the high school. It wasn't your normal things that you would think 16-year-olds were getting, or I'd take a break and I'd be texting leads throughout the day. So that was kind of my start, really of first getting into the business was 2012, 2013, and kind of a commission type role of an agent that was, growing super, super fast in his first year.
Okay. Yeah. So you weren't even old enough to get your license when you started as, essentially a marketing role, an administrative role, all hands on deck type role. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Nope. I was only 16. So I was just dying for myself to turn 18. And even at that time, I really didn't know anything about the business. I didn't know what the future held. I didn't know what you could do within the business. And so at that time, I was dead set on going to engineering school and playing college football. Those were my two things that I was dead set on at the time.
What position do you play?
I played offensive line. So I'm a 6'3", about 300-pound guy. So.
Whew. All right. 6'3", 300, how many pounds?
300, yeah.
It's 300.
Yeah.
Holy crap, man! I am not. You're half my age, twice my height, and about 10% heavier than me. But you're probably more muscle than me. So all right. So you 18. You get your license when you're 18.
Yeah, actually, I got my license when I was 19. So I actually went to an engineering school. I did play college football for a year. And then at that time, for anybody that knows the Keller system, I took BOLD my first summer back. So after my first year of college, I actually surprised my dad, and me and my mom were the only ones that knew that I got my real estate license while I was at college. So I decided 2 weeks prior to coming back from school that I wanted my license and to kind of have it as like a Christmas gift to my dad to go, hey, I got my license. I make the joke that everybody as a kid, their number one thing that they want to do is to have a job. And so I had this thing in the back of my mind. We had joked about, was I going to quit college? And it'd be fun to quit college with him. And so I just took the initiative and said, I'm just going to get the license, whether I do it or whether I don't, let's just have it. And so in about 2 weeks during my finals, I spent about 12 to 16 hours a day knocking out my real estate license in about 2 to 3 weeks. Came back and took BOLD. So for you guys in Keller, you obviously know the BOLD system. And after that, the last step of BOLD, there was an aha point. And during the last step, I basically said my aha is I'm dropping out of college and going into real estate full time. So.
Great. And Justin, for those that are viewing this right now that are not familiar with BOLD, that's Business Objective Life by Design. It's a 7-week curriculum that is really just transformational.
Yes.
So thanks for sharing that. So Justin, so you get your license, you're 19 years old, you move away from your college career.
Yep.
What happens next?
Absolutely. So at that time, it was obviously, it was just my dad. He had my mom as a transaction coordinator, and we had one buyer's agent at the time. So they were closing on average about 30 to 40 transactions a year.
So this wasn't too long ago, right? This was
2014. So we had
14,
our first buyer's agent in 2014. I graduated in 15 from high school. 2016 is when I kind of really got in full time, got my license then. My first full year, I was a buyer's agent only. So my only focus was to close buyers. My first year, I closed about 31 transactions for about $11 million in volume. And we primarily focused on internet leads at that time. So obviously at 19 years old, I always made the joke, I had to trick people to use me. And the best way to trick people to use me was to sound a little older on the phone and then surprise them when they come in person, right? Because once they're there in person, there's no turning back, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got my start. Obviously, we kept growing as a team. And so after about a year, we decided from some mentors, which I know we'll talk about later, and coaches of ours, we decided to grow exponentially. So we went from a team of 3 to 4 to about 12 to 15 in about a 6 to 7 month period. And so we really took a rapid growth on that sense. And at that time, that's kind of when I stepped into after the first year. So that was the end of 2017 into 2018. We decided to grow from small to big. And I took over at that time as the team lead on the day-to-day management of those agents, their development, and all of those different things. So I kind of transitioned a little bit from sales to the more of the management role. Okay,
so stop right there if you don't mind, because I'm so excited to talk to you. This is just such great stuff. So I'm curious. That was about a 6-month period where you went from 1 or 2 or 3 agents to 12 or 15 agents. Growing pains?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. A ton of growing
Just curious.
Yeah, a ton of growing pains. Obviously, when we first brought on the first few agents, they came in and they had a notebook that I had written down everything they should learn, right? And they're like, number one, who's this 19-year-old that's now, quote unquote, my team leader?
Sure.
And, obviously, we had built systems and models, and that's one thing that Mike did a really good job with his background, was having those systems and models in place. Now, we had them in place, but they weren't great, right? Because we had never run a team outside of just us. And, we always like to say, no one's going to do anything as well as we do when we're the ones that created it off the start, right? Until we figure out what works, what doesn't work. And so the biggest growing pains was just, the accountability piece. In our first 6 months to 8 months, we found the number one thing we failed at wasn't necessarily giving them the wrong information or giving it to them in the right, order. It was the accountability piece. We lacked a lot of accountability. And so obviously we lost some agents that didn't get into production because of a lack of accountability. We were kind of in that overwhelm stage. And so we really transitioned over the years to accountability first. I always
how do you do accountability first? What's the methodology?
Yeah, so a lot of the methodology now is we really, in the first 30 to 60, 90 days, we tell them, and I think we're going to talk about this later too, is we really tell them, look around you. Everything that an agent's doing, you should probably do the exact opposite. And the reason we say that is the average NAR stat is $28,000, the income of most agents. Now, again, if that's your goal, awesome. However, for a lot of people, that's not their goal. And so we say, if we look around an office, 80% of the people, and I don't care if you're with Remax, Keller Williams, a small mom and pop, when you look around, 80% of what you're going to see going on is exactly what you shouldn't be doing, right? Mm-hmm. You want to be focusing on the 20%. So what we do in their first 60 days is we really tell them, if another agent's running 2 open houses per weekend, you need to be running 4. Right. Sure. And so our accountability really was focused around the activities. And so we kind of said, forget the scripting for a bit, forget all of this stuff, go do the activities. We always say a blind squirrel can find a nut every once in a while. That was kind of my philosophy my first year. If I called enough internet leads, I could literally have the worst script ever, and I would find someone that needed to buy or sell a home. Now, of course, over time, we changed our methodology to, obviously increase scripting and increase conversion and things like that. But for a lot of people, scripting's great, but if you don't go out there and do the actions, it's all worthless.
All right, so let's go back. So you have 6 months of rapid growth, 12 to 15 agents. You have a few growing pains that we discussed. A couple agents you lost. You probably replaced them. So tell me about what happens. What happens next?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously at that time, we're kind of on a maintenance mode. We actually trimmed back. So even like today, I'm no longer a part of that team in that CEO role, team lead role. I am now an expansion partner, but now that team looks a little bit different. We're about 8 to 10 people on average. They kind of trimmed back, kind of went a little bit more of a lean, higher production model. But we were able to learn that's what we wanted by first growing rapidly. So after that, our team went on average from 15 to 20 million a year to on average about 35 million a year. They're pacing about 50 million this year with those 8 to 10 people. So that's kind of where we're at today. That leads us basically to where we stand today.
Is that 8 to 10 agents and then administrative on top of that? Tell me a little bit more about the team structure.
Yeah, great question. So Mike's obviously the team lead of that team now. We then have a team leader that's salaried. So he's kind of like, it's a little bit different. He's out there recruiting and also holding the agents accountable. So instead of, it used to be me where I was in production, still selling 25, 30 homes a year. Mike decided to hire him as a salary team leader to have two focuses and one things, recruiting and holding the agents accountable. I don't know the exact number. I believe we're at 7 or 8 agents roughly on the team now, outside of that leadership. And then we have one transaction coordinator that's full-time, one listing assistant that's full-time, and then also my mom who runs more of the books nowadays, not so much the transaction coordinator role anymore.
And what does the listing assistant do?
Yeah, so the listing assistant, basically what they do is they allow the transaction coordinator to only deal with things that go under contract. And it's huge to be able to separate that, because we found that the most important piece of holding the transaction together is a lot of times your transaction coordinator, how fast they're getting things done, making sure they're paying attention. Getting the sign into the front yard is not an important thing for a transaction that's holding, right? When you have a transaction in place, that's money that can be closed on a certain day. When it came to putting a sign in the yard, we didn't need our transaction coordinator having to focus on that. And so we brought on a listing coordinator to be able to take off, more of those pressures of what the normal transaction coordinator may do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so, so now what are you doing now? You're an expansion partner, you're doing some teaching, you're doing some social media. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of stepped away. So the reason I had to step away from being a team leader of the team is I had a mission and a challenge actually from a mutual coach of ours to go out and teach my social media class that I've been teaching for about 3 years. I've been teaching it in Colorado ever since I got my license at about 18. And she said, stop teaching it just in the state of Colorado. Why not go think bigger and go teach it everywhere? And so this year I have a goal to teach in over 200 Keller Williams market centers this year, physically in those locations. So I had to step away. So for 5 days a week, I was traveling state to state to state, teaching social media classes for the different Keller Williams. With that, basically what came out of that is now we have a mastermind group. So that's my main job as of today outside of selling real estate is we have over 450 paying members as a part of our social media mastermind group. And obviously I'm just, pouring knowledge and information into them daily of how we scaled our team since so much of our business came from social media.
So thank you. So tell me a little bit more about that. So how do you use social media in real estate business?
Yeah, absolutely. So the main way that we're currently using social media is by running Facebook ads. We bring in a ton of leads, and that's how a lot of our team members survive and, do their business is by working our leads that we bring in through social media. So, and of course we do video and we do all these different branding things, but a large majority of our business is lead based. How many leads can we get into our system? We've never been someone that loves Zillow or Trulia or any of those because you're so dependent on contracts and all that. And so for me, ever since I was 16, we did everything really cheaply. How can I do the Craigslist ads? How can I learn how to do the Facebook ads? We figured out how to keep it in-house and not pay these bolt-on technologies, these third parties. And so now that's why I'm out teaching within the Keller Williams system is here's how you can do it yourself, right? There's a lot of myths out there that it takes 20, 30 hours a week to do this. I spend less than 2 hours a week running the ads.
Okay.
Yep.
And then less than 2 hours a week. And then how many leads on an average week are you generating?
Yeah. So on an average week, we'll generate between 75 and 150 leads on average.
Okay.
Yep.
And of those, how many will you convert?
We will convert about 0.5% to about 1%. So
there goes another one we just sold. So sorry about that.
I love it. Selling so many. I love it.
The sign goes back. So, all right. So yeah, I got distracted. 0.5% to 1%.
Yeah, 0.5% to 1%. Obviously, we'd love for those numbers to be higher, but when it comes to Facebook ads, some of the top, leaders in the industry, they're happy with 0.5% because each lead's only costing us on average about $2.50. And so, if you get 100 leads at $2.50, most of us will gladly take one transaction out of that for the return on investment. So
what about like a follow-up, like what happens 18 months from now?
Yeah.
Do you have a gauge on those types of numbers?
That's a great question. I'll be honest with you. If there's one thing that our team is not good at, it's after the first year. So we really let our leads just kind of go after the first year. We have so many coming in right now. That's also another reason we brought on that, salary team lead. That's something that he's currently going through and, fixing. He's working on follow-up campaigns, because the reality is in our system right now, I think we have like 16,000 leads. If we followed the method of call them till they die, our agents wouldn't have time to sell real estate. So, for us right now, we're in that phase. Is it an ISA? Right? Or is it, what does that look like now? That's, still part of the growing pains that we're currently in as of today.
Yeah. You probably have to have about 5 ISAs for a database that large to get it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, okay. So give us any pointers on, if say I'm a new agent or I'm an experienced agent, whatever the case may be, I want to advertise online. What do I do?
Honestly, don't spend a dime. And that's our very first tip is here's the thing. I'm going to ask you a question, Dan. How many friends do you have on Facebook?
5,000.
5,000. Perfect. I love that answer. Here's the thing. Most agents, what they do is when they get into this business, they only have 200, 300, 400 friends on Facebook because they want to keep their network really small, private, right? They want the privacy. They don't want all the inconveniences that sometimes come with having a really, really big following and connections. And so we find is our agents now, like for the new team that I'm building out of Denver, they cannot be on my team unless they have 2,500 friends on their Facebook account. So they can't even start with me. If they interview with me and they only have 300, that's fine, but they cannot start on my team until they have 2,500 friends. And the reason is we find that in real estate, it's really a popularity contest. That's what it comes down to. Everything in real estate that we do is a big popularity contest. Now, again, there's different levels. I mean, for your sphere of influence, right? The reason we go after our sphere, we touch them so many times, we email them so many times, it's because we want to be the most popular person in their brain, the most liked, the most trusted. And so we found is with Facebook, you can build these really, really big networks of people that you don't know. If you don't mind, if I go through a little mindset moment with you real fast?
Please, man. I love mindset. Hit me up.
So this is one of my favorite things to do in my class. When you first got into business, did you ever call for sale by owners, expireds, or run open houses?
I did, yes.
Okay, so when you call,
not open houses. My team does. I don't. I've done 2 open houses in my life.
I love it. So for sale by owners and expireds, when you called them, what was the number one thing you wanted to walk away from that phone call with?
An appointment.
An appointment. Where?
At their house.
Okay, so you're telling me that you call a whole bunch of strangers in your database that you've never met before, and you're trying to hold an appointment in their house?
Sure.
Sounds pretty crazy, right? And now when we look at open houses, when your team runs an open house, they want to invite as many into their open house?
Strangers.
And we go to business networking events with hundreds of people we've never met. They are strangers. And then agents, what they do when they get into this business, they go on Facebook and say, I want to use Facebook as a lead generation tool, yet they're not comfortable adding some strangers. Because Dan, I doubt all 5,000 people on there. No, I don't. We know a good majority of them, but we don't know them all. But some of those strangers, I bet, have sent you referrals. I bet you some of those strangers have bought and sold homes with you just because they knew you. Now, I'm not saying go add a whole bunch of don't go search Bob Smith on Facebook, right? And go add all the ones that live in Virginia or all the ones that live in Colorado. But we can add people that we wouldn't have ever thought of before through some different tools that we teach in our class. So, and I can actually, I'll share, if you don't mind, I'll shoot you a video of one of the tools we use. People over the fear of getting to 5,000, 2,000, 3,000 friends. And you can share that with anybody that, wants that.
Okay, that'd be fantastic. Oh. And if you let me know, we can publicize that as well. Happy to get that out if you want us to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so tell me a little bit about. I want to get more into that, but I really want, because you're doing a lot of great things, right? And you have a maturity level that I don't think I had when I was 40. So
you're not 24. You're not 24.
I gave you away. All right. I mean, and I can tell that you're doing a lot of things right, and you're gonna, as we all do, you're gonna make some mistakes. I make mistakes. That's part of the learning. That's experience. Yeah. So what habits would you say that you embrace that do allow for you to have success?
I think for me, my biggest habits, it's just the work ethic. When it comes down to the amount of hours we have to put in, I think a lot of people get into real estate thinking that it's this easy thing. They're always comparing themselves to someone else. right?
Yeah.
No one gets into real estate not knowing another real estate agent. So when you walk into an office, you're going to go, I know Sally makes 100,000. I know Sally makes 200,000. And they see where that person is at today, right? I get that a lot. People look at where I'm at today, or I look at where someone else is at today. And we forget that they went through this hidden journey that they didn't publicize, right? They didn't show you the 12-hour days, right? And I think, you talked about earlier, you said, Justin, what was some of the growing pains?
Yeah.
I think some of the growing pains is we made it seem too easy. Our agents would come in and they'd see Mike, who in his second year did 35 transactions. And they're like, oh, that's easy. But what they didn't see is that Mike didn't do a transaction for his first 8 months and he was about to quit. But he was working 50, 60, 70, 80-hour weeks. And so I guess one of my biggest habits is any time that you're down, you're in a funk, I truly believe if you put in the hours that you can get out of it. Now, again, we live a life by design. Not any of us should be working 80, 90 hours our entire life. However, Bold teaches me personally that, there's these ebbs and flows. Gary Keller says a lot, there's no balanced life. And again, a lot of people agree or disagree with that, but there's going to be times in our life where we're more family focused, where we're more business focused, right? When different things happen. And I think for me, the habit is anytime that I'm a little down or, out of funk, putting in the hours and putting in the time is really what it comes down to, and that's different for everybody, right? Is that 6 hours compared to 4 a day, or is that 12 compared to 8? I think for me, that's a big thing that we push onto our agents is, if you do enough work, you're going to break through the barriers.
So so Gary says it's balance, counterbalance.
Yep, absolutely.
It goes from one way to to the other.
Yep.
And so what's been unexpected through your journey?
So say that again. What's been unexpected?
Yeah.
Really what's been unexpected for me, is just the possibilities in real estate. I think that's been really unexpected is, I started coaching with Tara, who's a mutual mentor of ours about 8 months ago. And never did I believe that I would not be selling real estate as my primary job anymore. I never thought that was a possibility. I mean, I thought it might be in 10, 12 years, but I literally overnight in a matter of 2 weeks, I dropped my notice to my dad and I said, I'm going to go do this teaching thing. And when I originally did it, I started teaching on the road for free. So I paid all my flights, I paid all my hotels. So the first 60 market centers I did on my own dime. And so one of the most unexpected things for me was just like overnight, how opportunities appear that you would have never have thought appeared. And I think that's for me something that was really big is I thought I was going this one way and a door opened, in a different direction that ended up changing my life.
And so that's Tara Smith that you're talking about, who works with MAPS Coaching, and she's a phenomenal coach. So
phenomenal.
So, all right. So you've shared a lot with me. What about books? What do you do to educate yourself? Any books that you're reading right now, or you've read?
It's actually funny you say that. I've always had a few favorite books, but last night I think I found one of my new favorites, and it's called Tools of the Titans. It's by Tim Ferriss. Yeah, it is an absolutely fantastic book, especially for me. I can't stay concentrated very long on a single item. I don't want to say I can't. I choose not to stay very concentrated on an item for very long. And so all these little short stories, it's basically a biography of all these different billionaires, millionaires, and what they do in each day. And I think it's really, really cool to see, no matter what your goal is, there's 100 different ways to get there. You just have to choose a way and be consistent about choosing that way, which I think was, a really big takeaway for me. And outside of that, kind of the cliche, the one thing, right? I love The One Thing, by Gary Keller. I would say those two are probably my top books that I would have people read, right off the bat.
And I can see that you're embracing the education from The One Thing, and the fact that you are, focusing more on helping others through your teaching, through your education, and through your masterminding, even, and choosing to do really, as close to one thing as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are asking me, Justin, why don't you have a million videos on Instagram or Snapchat or things? I'm like, honestly, we don't have to. Our team's number one focus is Facebook. Does that change over time? Sure. But for right now, we're going to keep it, on this one thing. We're going to do it well. We're going to be known as the people that play on Facebook all day.
Yeah, people are just asking me all the time, hey, Dan, why don't you have Snapchat or Instagram? It's a different conversation, right? But
it is, absolutely. Yeah.
I've never been on Snapchat my entire life.
I'm going to throw you for a loop real fast.
Okay.
I actually am going to move majority of our advertising to Snapchat this year.
Okay.
And that's a different conversation for a different time, but there's a lot of cool things that are, growing in that world. So.
And I get it. It just it's one that I've either missed the boat or I'm missing the boat. And
I love it.
I'll check it out. So So Justin, I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with me today and have this conversation. We just finished up with Red Day, so there's my Red Day shirt.
Love it. Outside the community.
I was painting all morning, so I'm still sort of covered with paint, but nonetheless. So Justin, tell me if I am interested in either you teaching in my market center, if I'm a OP or a team leader or operating partner or a team leader, or maybe I'm interested in joining your mastermind group or just getting in touch with you. How do I do that?
Yeah, so two things. And it doesn't even have to be Keller Williams too, because you probably got people watching this that aren't Keller Williams. We'll literally go teach anywhere, that they want to bring us out to. So the best way to get a hold of me is just using my cell phone number. I'm still one of the people that just gives you my cell phone number. You guys can call me for literally anything you want. So it's 720-556-4218. Again, 720-556-4218. Now, if you're looking to join the mastermind, we didn't talk a lot about the mastermind, but another reason Tara and I went out and, wanted to do this is we were sick and tired of these gurus out there selling these $1,000 packages, to these agents that were helpless trying to find the silver bullet. We actually do ours on a month-to-month basis. So it's $75 a month. When you join, you get access to everything. Literally everything.
What is everything? Tell me if I'm interested in your mastermind.
Yep.
Walk me through that.
Yeah. So literally, if you're interested in the mastermind, what you get is you can go to our website, Social REA. So SOCIAL.REA.com, and you can join at $75 a month. And there's really 4 things you get. The first thing you get is access to 60 to 80 videos on all kinds of different subjects, whether it's Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, anything that an agent could use from day one. We give you all of our scripts, all of our models, all of our systems that our team has used to grow from 0 to 35 million in just about 4.5 years. And then after that, 3 times a week, we do live coaching calls with people. So, we have over 400 members in there now. We might have 4, 5, 6 people in the group jump on. And when they start to make their ads, we will actually, and not my team, I will sit there and help them edit their ads each and every week to make sure that before they put them out there, whether they're a team owner, whether they're a solo agent, we make sure that before they release marketing dollars, that it's an ad that we think will actually work. Right? Too many agents, there's false information out there. They're doing these things. And so for $75 a month, these agents are basically getting a full-time consultant to make sure that their ads are running properly. 3 to 4 times, a month, we'll do webinars that are specific to the group only, that focus mostly on ads. That's really our big focus right now, is getting people up and running through ads.
Got it. And tell us that website one more time.
Yeah, so it's socialrea.com. So social as in socialize, socialrea.com.
Awesome, man. All right. Thanks again, Justin. And look forward to staying in touch and helping each other out.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I literally just gave you guys my cell phone number. Literally anything anybody needs, even if you're not a part of the group, I'm here for you. And I appreciate your opportunity to speak with you and hopefully share some knowledge that, didn't offend or make anybody too crazy.
All right, man. Thank you. Take care.
Absolutely, Dan.